Are you interested in starting a business in Spain and opening a legal entity for a new or existing company here? In this video, we'll take a look at all of the different legal structures and setups that are available, along with the process to get set up and visa options for founders and employees looking to move over to Spain as part of that company setup. Joining me to cover this are legal experts Gemma Salas and Alia Kiakbeva from Pro Spain Consulting, who have been on the channel before to discuss tax and immigration matters. So I hope you enjoyed this discussion, guys. And with that said, let's get right into it. All right, Leah, welcome back. And Gemma, welcome to Millennials with Money for the first time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
to have you both on. So we got the topic of relocating a company to Spain today, which,
Mhm.
Leah, you and I were just talking about this. There are companies, multinationals, global companies that are looking to relocate to Spain, and you're handling a couple of cases yourself. So I'm interested to hear more about the logistics, how this works, and the reasons why companies are coming to Spain. So maybe we start there. Why would someone consider relocating their business to Spain or opening a legal entity here?
Okay, I get this one. Well, actually, Spain is a very compelling option right now in the current market, things in Europe. For starters, it's the fastest growing economy in the US space. And I think the GDP is a 3.2% up for the rest of the countries in Europe. So it's a very good option, not only because it's a place that automatically gives you access to the European market, but it's also one of the rising stars in the European market at all. So it's a good place to start. I mean,
Definitely,
it's
yeah.
one of the largest economies right now. It's a good option.
Yeah, yeah, we see a lot of news about Spain's economic performance recently in the news, so that can be a pull factor.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe you want to talk about as well. So it's obviously not the most favorable from a corporate tax perspective, but there is a reduced rate perhaps for the first couple of years, which can also be a pull factor.
Yeah, is a normally it's a 25%, but then we have a reduce of 15 for emerging companies. So for the first time, so it's a good choice to start a company.
Yeah.
Well, and a part of that, let's not forget why we all enjoy Spain also.
Yeah, apart from the
Yeah.
food, the weather, the places, it is an amazing place to go. So we have many people from all around the world who want to come here and work from here. So I didn't want to say that up front because it's obvious, it's the obvious question. Spain is a great place to come and live and work from.
Absolutely, yes, yes. So there's obviously different legal entity structures that exist in Spain. What are some of them, and could you explain the key characteristics of each one?
Yeah, okay. There's a similar model than the common law countries, where we basically have the limited liability company. Limited liability could be like a very, very simple model to start to work with. It requires a very low amount of minimum capital, which is 3,000 euros. It is easygoing. Obviously, it has all the some of the bureaucracy mm, things attached to it. But it's a very simple model. It's flexible, easy to manage, easy to wind up if you need to, and it's well suited for medium, small size businesses. So it's a great choice. It's one of the most chosen forms of corporate forms in Spain. It's a good option. And then we have the what we call the SA, which could be assimilable to a public limited company, which is a for a slightly bigger corporation. It requires a minimum amount of 60,000 euros of minimum capital, which is quite a lot. It is a form that is a little bit more not as easy going. It has some requirements, but it also has the advantage of being able to raise funds much easier. Is it will be in in a form that you could be able to raise capital from investors in a better way, and you will be prepared to enter the stock market. But it's basically reserved for big corporations, and it's not widely used because of the requirements that are a little bit more, cumbersome for sometimes for working with it. Some of the companies used to step in Spain not in a corporate form. They might want to establish a branch, which has not legal entity by itself, but it's also a great way to start. So you create a branch. It doesn't have its own legal personality. It depends on the parent company, but you are already in. So there's I think basically these are the three forms that we are most widely used in the Swiss market.
Yeah, so the second company, the public one, the SAR, is what we
Hmm.
see if we look at most of the companies on the IBEX 35, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah, yeah.
The first one, the limited company, would be an SALA, so an
SL,
SL.
exactly. The other one is the typical branch, well, we call here the sucursal. Okay, it is
Okay.
a branch. It's just like doesn't have any separate entity from the parent company. You can have a parent company in the UK and establish a branch here in Spain. It will have several obligation to fulfill, but all the accounting, all the balances and everything will depend from the parent company. So it will be just like the same company, but with a place in Spain.
Okay. There is one more option, I guess. It's very much for niche cases, I imagine, an SE, so Societas Europeas. Do you see many of those cases with companies wanting to incorporate the headquarters in Spain?
No, no, no. The vast majority choose an SL because it is a way. It's also a great way to divide responsibilities. So because it has its own legal responsibility, if it goes wrong, it doesn't affect the parent company. It stays the debts and everything stays with the SL. So sometimes it's a better way to divide and avoid certain difficulties that some companies may have when going abroad and establishing themselves in other countries. So we basically work in the 90%, 90% of the companies will choose an SL.
Okay, very good. So I guess we could talk about the SL for the next question, which is what are the main steps and processes involved in registering a company in Spain?
Well, the first thing will be to choose a name. This is the very basic step. We have to choose a name. We normally say to our clients, just choose 5 names that you like in order of preference. And this is submitted to the registry, and they say if it's available or not, because you can have a company set up if there's another company with the same name. So once this is done, the next step would be to establish a bank account, deposit the minimal capital, go to the notary and incorporate the company by deed. This has to be done by deed, and that deed goes to the company registry. Once this is done, obviously you need to register with the tax authority. And if you're gonna have employees and depends really what you're gonna do with the company, you will have several more other steps. But it's a not fast forward process, but it's very well detailed and it's easy to do. It's not something really complicated.
Yeah. Okay, good. Alia, do you have anything to add?
Well, I think Gemma has covered all the questions, and then once this is done, then we have obligations in Spain.
Yeah, maybe let's talk about that now. So once you are registered, you're set up, what obligations do you have as a limited company operating in Spain?
Yeah, Aliyah, you want to go for this one?
Okay, okay. Yes, so once you got a company here in Spain, then yes, you have a part of enjoying building your business here, you have some obligations. Of course, you need to submit tax declarations quarterly and annual reports also, and annual balances. Also, depending of having or not having workers in this company, you also need to do the payroll. And basically, that's it. So, yeah, we need to submit every quarter the tax declarations and then annual balances next year. Did I miss something?
No, no, it's good. It actually depends on the form you're gonna take. If you're gonna just incorporate an SL just to have goods in here, you won't have these labor obligations of being registered. But it is a good description. But yeah.
Right. Thank you.
So what we were talking about just before we got started, Alia, was companies that are relocated workers from overseas. Non-EU nationals will of course need a visa to come and live and work in Spain legally, along with their company being set up here. What is kind of the visa process, the visa options available for those employees that are relocating?
Okay, I'll take this one. So,
Yes.
so if we're talking about non-European countries and the workers coming from the third countries, we call them here, then in most of the cases we obtain for them highly qualified professionals visa, HQP visa. It's a residence permit with maximum duration of 3 years initially, and with the possibility to extend it later on, with the work permit, obviously. And also, the applicant, the worker that is being relocated here, could bring the whole family, and the family members will also have the work permit here in Spain. So this is one of the most popular residence permit options that we were applying and that we keep applying for such cases. There are some requirements, like we need to prove the proper qualification of these workers. So let's say with the university degree or at least 3 years of relevant experience. And there are some other requirements, but most importantly is, yes, to have a job offer from Spanish company. And why do we like this type of relocation is that because this residence permit we can apply for even with the recently created company. So let's say the company was just created, the process that Gemma just explained, and the company doesn't need even to have an activity already, but we can already start relocating people there. And that's great because in most of the cases, similar to this one, we were receiving requests like, yes, we would like to open a Spanish entity, the new legal entity in Spain, and we would like to bring our workers to start to work there immediately. We don't want to wait or something like that, and we are not searching for the workers on local market. Yes, we will do it later on probably, but right now we have our team that we would like to relocate. And this was the case with most of the IT companies that we were successfully relocating here, and other companies. And there are also some requirements on the salary based and so on. But most importantly, yes, is to already have a Spanish company, job offer, and the workers themselves. Another possibility also is the residence permit. We call it intracorporate transfer. This is another type, and also the worker could work here for the Spanish company, but that's when we open, like, let's say, a branch of the parent company here, and we would like to relocate workers, but most likely they will be still working for the parent company. Or when we have an agreement and some sort of project in common between two companies, foreign company and Spanish company. This is a little bit more complicated probably to explain, but that's also an option. And sometimes companies bring, like, let's say, the very international team, and there are workers from outside of European Union and European Union citizens also. With them is a little bit easier. For them, we can get a residence permit and work permit much faster.
Okay. So from what I understand, it's primarily, gonna be the higher skilled professionals that are eligible for this, like the management, like someone who has a particularly specialist knowledge or expertise.
Right, right.
Oh, okay. And for the duration of that validity period of the residency card, is it contingent on on employer sponsorship? So, for example, if the person no longer works with the company, is that residency card terminated immediately, or is it still valid up to the 3 years?
So yes, that's the important thing about this type of residence permit, highly qualified professionals visa, because when we apply for it, we apply with this particular employer, with this particular job offer, which means that we are like going to work for this company. So let's say worker, the residence permit of the worker depends on the employer. There are possibilities to do some changes later on. So after the first year, it's possible to switch from highly qualified professionals to work permit with another company, for example, with another employer, if there will be such changes if there will be such changes. Or if it's necessary to move from one company to another, it's also possible to reapply for the initial residency. But if the worker loses his job, then we recommend, of course, as soon as possible to communicate with the lawyers, because there are some sort of possibilities to save your residence permit or to switch.
If you are unemployment, you have some kind of subside to help you through. So,
Right, right.
Yeah. So you get unemployment benefits. Yeah.
yes,
Um,
yes.
So we obviously just talked about employees of a company that would be relocating. What about someone who wants to set up a company in Spain as a founder? They are an entrepreneur themselves. Did they have different visa options as well to make that possible?
Well, here, of course, we need to see the cases individually because there are always different cases. But there is another type of residence permit, entrepreneur visa, but also people know it as a startup visa. That might be a possible option for founders. But here I have to say that we can apply for this residence permit with the business plan for innovative business in Spain with some kind of new ideas and innovative projects for Spain. So this sometimes a little bit hard to prove, but it's still possible. And in this case, we can bring even up to 4 founders to one project with work permit also. In a lot of cases, also depends if the founders, they need work permit or not. Because in a lot of cases, founders, they were like, we don't need work permit, then we could consider other visa options and they will be like shareholders having workers working for the company. Or another option is also to apply for them for qualified professional visa on the managing positions. And I think those are the major options. And by the way, if we talk about highly qualified professionals and other residence permit holders like startup visa, for example, it's also possible to apply for Beckham law.
Yeah, yeah. Let's maybe give a quick refresher to those watching of what the Beckham law is and what advantages it gives.
Well, Beckham law is a special tax regime that allows you to be fiscal resident of Spain, but pay taxes as non-resident with a fixed rate of 24%. And also, we don't need to declare and pay taxes on income outside of Spain, like if they have income based on dividends and so on.
Yeah, it's a very nice advantage.
Yes. And one thing I want to say is that you don't need to, you can incorporate a company in Spain before being a resident. Okay, there is a way that you can actually obtain a tax number, incorporate, and then you normally need some representative here in Spain, but it is also a possibility you could actually just want to remain in your country of origin and incorporate a company in Spain having a representative. So this is also a choice. You don't really need to be a resident to do that.
Yeah, good point. I guess the small caveat we have to put there, of course, is they have to be careful of that Spanish company, Spanish entity being a tax resident in their home country potentially.
Yeah.
So they have to obviously keep an eye on that.
Yes.
And also, the shareholder of the Spanish company could be foreign company, which is in most of the cases is a case where we have the parent company somewhere outside, like let's say the United States or UK or wherever. Then we open a Spanish company here. I probably was not like 80% of the cases when we were locating such companies. And then the main shareholder of the Spanish company was foreign company. That was actually sponsoring initially the Spanish company.
Yeah, so this would be a classic case of like an SLA with what we were talking about a bit earlier. Yeah.
Yes.
If we think about kind of the registration process, having the company incorporated, moving people across to Spain, how long would someone expect that to take in normal circumstances?
Well, this is one of the cases. It really depends on the circumstances of the case. I can say that from the day you incorporate, or you go to the notary and sign the incorporation deed, the registration process is about 2-3 weeks. Normally, is that there's a lot of things you have to do prior obtaining a provisional tax number, or if the founder or one of the shareholders is not a resident, you will need to obtain a NIE, which is a foreigner number, tax number. So the whole process really depends on the people are, how the people they want to incorporate the company are in relationship with their resident status in Spain. resident. If not, if they need the tax number. I could say that this process is could be some point between the 3 weeks to up to 6, 7 weeks. It depends. It is. I know it's not something that you usually see it on other places, but it is what it is. Yes.
Okay, so it's maybe a fair bit slower than perhaps in other countries there to incorporate a
Yes.
company, where in some cases it can be done in a matter of days or same day in some cases.
And if the founder or the shareholder is actually already a resident, there is a fast track process that could actually incorporate a company in 2 weeks, something like that. We have to have in mind that we have to take into account other factors apart from the process. Strictly incorporating the company. This is one thing, and then you have many things surrounding your ability to incorporate that might delay things a little bit. But yes, Spain is still a little bit, slower in bureaucracy than other countries. That is true.
Okay, yeah. We are seeing things slowly improve in kind of the everyday life procedures, so maybe that will trickle over
Yeah,
to
I'm
the
sure of it.
corporate. Yeah.
Until a few years ago, it was impossible to do something like incorporate a company in 2 weeks. So I think we're making a good progress here. So I'm confident.
Okay. What are some of the most common mistakes or errors or problems that people face when they try to incorporate or set up a company in Spain from your experience?
Get this one? Okay. Uh, well, probably one of the main ones is what I just said, that it's underestimating the bureaucracy of Spain. And Spain is still a formal country when it comes to documentations, translations, sworn translations, apostille. So we we still are a little bit late on that. And probably another of the problems will be to choose the wrong form for your business. Like, for example, if you I decided, okay, I want a brunch, but really, my firm of business, it would be better served with an SL. That could be one of the things that people mostly they mostly ask advice about. So, what is the appropriate corporate form for me? If you don't get a good advice in this area, you might experience some delays and problems along the way. Yeah, it also it is. I think the worst problems we can face in here, it will be an ill-advised people that come here are not aware of the requirements they need to set up the company or or transfer their workers. So that's something that you have to be very aware of.
Yeah. Maybe on that, Gemma, like this is, I know we're not talking specifically about autonomos here, we're talking more about companies, but do you ever get
Mm.
cases where someone wants to set up a business and tries to go down like the legal entity route and really like a simple autonomous setup would probably work best for them? Do you ever see cases like that?
Well, I would say to choose being autonomous or opening a company, it also always depends on the case of the client because, okay, you can open a company even not being resident, and then later on you will sort your residence permit stuff and so on. And with autonomous, the situation is a little bit different. In order to be able to work as autonomous here in Spain, you firstly need to get your residence permit with the proper work permit as an autonomous, which is hard to get initially, so in most of the cases. And only after that, you will be able to start your business here. When choosing the path with SL, with opening a company, you just need to get NIE number and basically you can establish your business here. So that's probably the difference, but also the difference will be, of course, in taxes. Because okay, for the small business, when you're just starting it, okay, let's say you have a work permit, you can start your autonomous already. Then initially, yes, for the small business, it would be probably faster and easier, and maybe without like huge expenses to become autonomous. But then reaching certain amount of income, it's of course better to open a company because autonomous they have progressive tax scale, as we all know, from 19 to 47% of income tax. So once you reach some certain amount of income, it's not worth it anymore.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So the importance of getting the structure and the approach right from the start is definitely critical.
Yes.
And also, if we talk about the mistakes, so let's make it short. My personal opinion and my professional opinion um, is that the biggest mistake is, yes, trying to do it yourself or without proper professional advice.
Yeah, it's very. I know there are things that you can do yourself and that maybe you can get by with on your own, but as I've kind of progressed on in life and learned, I have learned that professional help is very beneficial and often a big. It gives you a big peace of mind essentially when you're going through something quite complex with big potential consequences if you get it wrong. So I definitely recommend professional help in certain circumstances like this. So that's maybe a good segue into our last question, which is how can you guys at Pro Spain help people who are looking to incorporate a company, set up, start a business here?
Well, we act with like some sort of bridge between what you want and where do you want to be in the near future. What's your desire for your company or for your profession? So we take care of a wide, I mean, from legal, tax, administrative, and not only in the first steps of setting the company of moving abroad, but afterwards as well. So is it some sort of integral care? Not only we provide the means to establish yourself here safely with everything in place, with work permits, with your family with you, in a way where you can feel secure that you're doing everything by the letter. Also, we take care of all these little things that might be stones in your path, like, for example, taxes. Forget that you were in a foreign country. Spanish is the main language, even though we have lots of people that speak English or other languages. You really need someone who can deal with the administrative part of of things and the authorities. And then you need someone to act on your behalf. I think that's our main point in here, to accompany you not only in the first steps, but then afterwards as well.
I fully agree here with my colleague, and taking into account that we are a team of professional lawyers, accountants, advisors with more than 9 years of experience, and we provide all range of services from migration to taxes and all the additional services and all the legal advising, of course.
Great. Gemma and Aliyah, it's been a really great conversation. Thank you both so much for sharing your insights, your experience, and I'm sure the audience found it very helpful as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Us here today, Johnny.
So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and found it informative and useful. If you're interested in opening a legal entity in Spain and you'd like to work with Pro Spain Consulting to do so, then be sure to check out the affiliate link in the video description. Leave a comment and let me know how your experience has been with opening a legal entity or a business in Spain and operating here. I'd love to hear about it. If you like this video and you want to see more about moving to Spain or doing business here, then be sure to check out these two videos here. So next time, I'll see you on the next one, and let's get this money.